In today's video, we're going to talk about why students keep arguing with you and how you can put a stop to it forever in your classroom. It's also important in order to fix this problem that we understand what you're losing every time you engage in an argument with students. We're going to talk about what motivates students to want to argue with teachers. And then finally, we're going to deal with why students continue to argue. And along the way, I'm going to give you strategies. These strategies, really simple to stop arguing forever in your classroom. First, please do me a favor and subscribe to this channel. Give this video a thumbs up. Leave a comment below. I would really appreciate it. So every time you argue with a student, you're losing some of your authority. Even if you are arguing with just that one student, the rest of your class are going to be listening and watching you, and you're going to be losing authority with them also. The reason for this is because in this day and age, to be an effective teacher, to have really good classroom management, you must be a leader that students look up to. So a leader that they respect, that does what they say they're going to do, that is consistent in following their classroom management plan. And if you lower yourself to their level as a peer, and by the way, this is how students see it, when you lower down and you argue and battle with them, they stop seeing you as a leader and more like a friend or a peer that they can argue with and disagree with openly and this sort of thing. You also lose some of your influence because you look weak in their eyes. Now, this isn't something that they can necessarily articulate, but it's there for sure. When you're down at students' level, when you're trying to be friends with them, this sort of thing, and when you're inconsistent and you're battling with students and using sarcasm, you bring yourself down to them and they feel as if they can treat you with disrespect and they can argue and battle with you. The third thing that you lose is control. Once you signal that you can argue with you, so once you signal to students that you will listen to them, that you will listen to their negotiation tactics, and that's what they look at arguing as being, as a way of getting what they want. And when you show that you're willing to do that, to engage in arguments, it's going to open the floodgates with the rest of the class, and you're going to have students trying to argue with you all the time. Now, what motivates students to argue with you? Well, the big one is because it works. It works. The experience of kids these days is that with adults, if they argue, they often get what they want. Parents and teachers tend to argue with students. Most of them do, and argue with kids. And if a child is arguing with an adult who's stressed out and's got a lot on their mind, a lot of times that adult will just say, fine, whatever, just to get out of the argument. And so kids have learned that these adults will indulge them if they complain enough, if they're the squeaky wheel and that they argue. And so it's been their experience with a lot of their parents and previous teachers. And so they come to you in your classroom and they're going to try it out with you too. Another reason that motivates students is if you're inconsistent, like we mentioned before. If you hold me accountable for something, the same thing that I notice another student do, and you didn't hold them accountable, then I'm going to argue with you about it. I'm going to battle with you. I'm going to push back against your enforcement. And again, this is going to cause more students to do the same, and pretty soon, every time you try to hold a student accountable, they're going to be battling back against you. Third reason is that if your students dislike you, or if they don't respect you. And this can happen if you berate students, you create friction between you and them, you don't do what you say you're going to do, your classroom is messy, you're disorganized, you use sarcasm, this sort of thing. Kids don't like it. And when there is dislike between you and your students, and it often becomes mutual dislike between you and your students, well, they're gonna try to get under your skin, and because you've shown that you're open to it, they're going to be doing it all the time. It's just how it works. It's human nature in this day and age. So why do students continue to? And this is where we get to the kind of the real strategies to stop it. Is that you argue back. You argue back. This is why students argue, because you argue. You're willing to go toe-to-toe with them. You're willing to try to make your point. You're willing to try to win the argument with them. And so you have to refuse. You have to decide. Like so much of classroom management, effective classroom management isn't effort. It's not hard. It just takes discipline. And you have to be disciplined to say, I don't argue with students. Now, to that end, a lot of teachers, what they'll do is they'll wait for it. So you wait for it. And so you enforce a consequence and then you wait for a response. Or you tell a student, you give a direction and then you to a student and you wait for a argument back. You don't wait. If a rule is broken, then you enforce a consequence and you walk away. You don't leave any room for arguments. And if a student calls out and tries to argue, well, they're breaking a rule because they're calling out without raising their hand. And this is how most arguments start, is when students yell out, and you just follow your classroom management plan. And this, along with being consistent, completely eliminates arguing from your classroom. And so this is where this last one comes in, is you allow it. You allow it. And so the way to put a stop to it is you refuse to argue. When you give a consequence, you turn on your heel and walk away because it's already been explained. You are the only witness, the only evidence you need is the leader of the classroom. If you see a misbehavior, if you see a rule being broken, then you enforce a consequence, and that's it. It's over. End of story. Now, one thing that you can say to your class I think that students appreciate and also helps to eliminate that argument is to let students know, hey, if there's anything you need to talk to me about academically, about one of your grades, maybe there's a problem in your math test that you think you got the right answer, or you don't understand why you got the wrong answer, or if you were held accountable and there were some extenuating circumstances or something that maybe I missed, then here's when you can come and speak to me. This is my office hour. These are my office hours. And yes, even as an elementary school teacher, you should have office hours. You can say, come see me during the office hours. Make sure you approach me respectfully. This is how it works. This is how you do it. And I'll politely listen to you with an open mind. This rarely happens, and when it does, it's usually something that's real. There usually is something with the math problem. Occasionally, very occasionally, there may be something that you thought you saw, and you held a student accountable, but there was a reason. The student comes to you and say, hey, I want you to know that this happened. And then you can say to that student, okay, understood, you actually didn't break a rule, and so let's remove it. It's really that simple. But here are the keys here. So it's being consistent, right? Decide to never argue back, never wait for an argument, and you just don't allow it. And the consistent part is also making sure that when a student yells out an argument, you don't have any obligation to respond other than to just follow your classroom management plan. If you do these things, you'll maintain your authority, your influence, and your control over the classroom, and your students won't argue with you anymore. I hope this helps. Hope you're having a great week. See you next time.